What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my NFL prediction series. This is part 2, and we are discussing the NFC West. I just want to take this time before the video starts to say thank you to everyone for the support on the videos. Expect more content in the near future. Hope you all enjoy this video, and have a great day. So you can see I have the Seahawks at 4-13, missing the playoffs, and possibly a top 5 pick in this year's draft. The Seahawks made it abundantly clear that they are in full rebuild mode next season when they traded away star QB Russell Wilson for draft capital and Drew Lock, and they released star and all-pro linebacker Bobby Wagner, who was the cornerstone of the defense for years. In that Broncos trade, they were able to get a first-rounder this year that they had previously traded away to the Jets in the Jamal Adams trade. There's also some uncertainty about whether or not DK Metcalf will stay with the team or be traded away for even more draft capital. They made a few minor moves in free agency by re-signing safety Quandre Diggs and signing linebacker Uchenna Nwosu, who is an up-and-coming young star. While their defense is still decent with Jamal Adams and Diggs in the secondary and a decent D-line with Carlos Dunlap and Darrell Taylor, I just don't know how well Drew Lock will perform. He wasn't great with the Broncos, but he for sure had his moments. If DK stays, that will help his development, but I just don't see the Seahawks having a great year after using so many key pieces. The Seattle Seahawks schedule for the 2022-2023 season looks like this. As you can see, I have the Seahawks beating the Falcons, Panthers, and Giants at home, and I see them beating the Lions on the road. As for stats from key players, I see Drew Lock actually having a decent year with 3,500 yards and 25 TDs, but I also see him struggling with turnovers with a league-high 20 interceptions, tied with another quarterback who I'll talk about in another video. Any guesses? DK Metcalf will end up staying with the team and having a great year with 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Tyler Lockett will have a down year from last year, but he'll still be decent with 890 yards and 6 TDs. Rashad Penny will be named the starter after his great end-of-year performances last season, and he will prove that was a correct decision with a close to 1,000-yard rushing season with 950 yards and 300-yard receiving season as well, and 10 TDs combined. The Seahawks, as they currently stand, will be bottom of the league in my personal opinion, but if Drew Lock can build rapport with the offense and have a better-than-projected season, they can definitely outpace the 4 wins that I currently have them at. And in third place, I have the Arizona Cardinals at 9-8, missing the playoffs or maybe sneaking into the 7th spot, but more than likely missing the playoffs. The Cardinals are a tough team to predict. Last season, they looked like Super Bowl favorite halfway through the year, but then they collapsed and lost in the first round of the playoffs in blowout fashion, which was due to some injuries to key players. The Cardinals have lost a lot of players this offseason, and they've re-signed a few pieces, but they've definitely lost more than they've gained. Notable players that have signed elsewhere include Christian Kirk in that big contract with Jacksonville, Chandler Jones signing with the Raiders, Chase Edmonds signing with Miami, and they released Jordan Hicks. The Cardinals were able to bring back James Conner, who will now have little competition in the backfield with Edmonds gone. Zach Ertz also signed a 3-year deal with the team after having a decent year after being traded from the Eagles to the Cardinals. Losing Kirk, Jones, and Edmonds will definitely hurt this team, but they still have a good roster going into this season, and they should be able to hover around 500 throughout the year. I say this because they have to play the Rams and 49ers twice, who I think are considerably better than the Cardinals, and we don't know if J.J. Watt and D-Hop will be able to stay healthy since both players, especially Watt, have had a rough go with injuries as of late. The Cardinals' schedule for the 2022-2023 season looks like this. As you can see, I have the Cardinals dropping home games to the Rams, 49ers, Chiefs, and Bucks. And on the road, I see them dropping games to the Rams, Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings. As for stats from key players, Kyler Murray will have a decent year passing for 3,600 yards and 27 TDs, and rushing for 600 yards as well. And Zach Ertz, with his first full season with the team, will fit nicely as a number 2 or number 3 option for Kyler with 700 yards and 6 TDs. D-Hop will bounce back nicely from an injury with his 7th career 1,000-yard season and 8 touchdowns. James Conner will have a good year rushing the ball with 860 yards and a solid 10 TD season once again. The Cardinals definitely have the potential to make the postseason, but it all depends on the play of Kyler Murray and the injury status of guys like D-Hop, J.J. Watt, and even Kyler himself. But like I said before, I think they will still miss the playoffs because they have one of the tougher schedules I've seen thus far. In second place, I have the San Francisco 49ers at 12-5, making the 5th seed in the NFC playoffs, would win some other divisions in the NFC. The 49ers were able to make the NFC Championship behind the stellar play of their defense and the offensive juggernaut that is Deebo Samuel, who just did it all for them, whether it be rushing for a touchdown or going off for a big gain in the receiving game. There are some rumors that Deebo could be made available for trade, but that was just hopeful fans making noise, like myself. In free agency, the 49ers have made a few moves to improve the team while letting go of a few pieces. One notable move that they have made was signing former Chiefs cornerback Charvarius Ward to a 3-year deal, which will improve the secondary. And they also signed the speedy wide receiver Ray McLeod to a contract, which adds depth to their receiving core and also adds an elite return man to the squad as well. They did lose offensive tackle Laken Tomlinson to the Jets, as well as running back Raheem Mostert to the Dolphins. The loss of Tomlinson will hurt more than Mostert since they have Elijah Mitchell, who had a good season when healthy and should have another one this year. There's a bit of uncertainty in the QB room. While Jimmy G did lead this team to the NFC title game, Trey Lance's time is on the horizon, and there are reports that he has been told he is the guy in San Fran. Regardless of who is at the helm of the Niners, they are still a great team with elite offensive and defensive weapons, which will make them a formidable force in the NFC. San Francisco 49ers schedule for the 2022-2023 NFL season looks like this. I have the 49ers dropping games to the Chiefs, Bucks, and Dolphins at home, and on the road I see them dropping games to the Cardinals and Rams. As for stats from key players, I predict that Trey Lance will take the starting role and have a decent year in his first full season as a starter, with 3,400 yards passing with 24 TDs, but he will also have a big impact on the ground with 600 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel will continue his role as a dual threat and finish with 1,000 receiving yards and 400 yards on the ground with a total of 15 TDs between the two, one more than he had last season. I believe the Niners defense will be a top 3 ranked defense in the league, and Nick Bosa will have a Defensive Player of the Year caliber season with 12 plus sacks and 4 plus forced fumbles. The Niners will have a different look this season at QB in Lance, and I believe that will ultimately benefit them because Lance is a very mobile QB. As long as he makes good decisions in the passing game and limits his fumbles, there's absolutely no reason why the 49ers cannot contend in the NFC this upcoming season. And in first place, I have the Los Angeles Rams at 13-4, either first or second seed in the NFC, and making but not winning the Super Bowl again. I'm sure we could all see this one coming. The Rams won the Super Bowl last season and somehow have gotten better. They signed Allen Robinson to replace the loss of Robert Woods, and they just recently acquired Bobby Wagner, who will replace Von Miller, and they were able to re-sign offensive lineman Joe Noteboom. Now, they did lose Darius Williams in free agency to the Jags, but in order to be able to sign Robinson and Wagner, they had to lose someone, and unfortunately for the Rams, that was Williams, who was a solid cornerback too. The Rams still have one of the most complete rosters in the league and will be a tough team to beat in any stadium this season. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp developed one of the best wide receiver quarterback connections in the league so quickly, and now Stafford has been gifted another great weapon in Allen Robinson, and they still have the speedy Van Jefferson, who fits in nicely as a wide receiver 3. If Odell does return this season, the Rams will have one of the best receiving cores in the league. The Los Angeles Rams schedule for the 2022-2023 season looks like this. I have the Rams only dropping one home game all year to the Broncos, and I have them losing to the Chiefs, 49ers, and Chargers on the road. As for stats from key players, I have Matthew Stafford having another great year at the helm of the team with 4,600 yards and 39 TDs. Cooper Kupp will have another great year as well. Maybe not as good as last year, but he will eclipse 1,600 yards again with 12 TDs. A-Rob will have a bounce-back year with a new QB and be the second player on this team with a 1,000-yard season. If Aaron Donald does not retire, then he will have another 10-plus sack season and be one of the most dominant defensive players in the league. And Jalen Ramsey, of course, will continue to be the best corner in the league. There's no reason why this Rams team cannot at least make the NFC Championship. They've barely lost anyone from last year, and they have all the right pieces. Don't be surprised if they do end up going back-to-back. There you have it, my predictions for the NFC West division for the 2022-2023 NFL season. Once again, feel free to tell me how good or bad my predictions are in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and have a great rest of your day.